A long, long time ago in Egypt, a baby was born into a time of great fear and danger for his people, the Israelites. His name was Moses. The Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had grown afraid of the Israelites' growing numbers. So he decreed that every newborn Israelite boy must be taken away. But Moses' mother could not bear to lose her son. She gently places the baby into a small woven basket, her hands trembling as she arranges a blanket over him. She kisses his forehead and whispers to him. She made a brave decision. She placed Moses in a basket and set it adrift along the Nile River, trusting that he might be saved. Pharaoh's daughter found Moses while bathing in the river and rescued him from the Nile and raised him in the Egyptian palace. And so, Moses grew up in the Pharaoh's palace, living like a prince, though he was truly an Israelite. One day, Moses overheard a conversation between Pharaoh's daughter and a servant and discovered that he was not an Egyptian but an Israelite. But the suffering of his people troubled Moses. One day he couldn't bear it any longer and struck down an Egyptian guard. Realizing what he's done, Moses looks around, panic rising. The slaves stare in shock. Fearful for his life, Moses fled Egypt. On the way, Moses heroically protected Zipporah and her sisters from fierce shepherds. A few years later, he married, had children, and began a peaceful shepherding life. One day, Moses took his sheep for a walk. But then something miraculous happened. God spoke to Moses from a burning bush. Moses steps closer to the bush, awe and fear in his eyes. God sent him to Pharaoh to free the Israelites from slavery. Even though Moses was afraid, he accepted God's call and returned to Egypt to free his people. The Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go, so God sent plagues upon Egypt. Frogs, locusts, darkness, each plague worse than the last. But still, Pharaoh's heart was hard. Pharaoh hugged his son's lifeless body, his face twisted with grief and his heart broken. He agreed to release the Israelites. But Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army after them. The Israelites found themselves trapped between the sea and the soldiers. Moses trusted God, and the sea parted before them, making a path to freedom. With the sea returned to its place, Pharaoh's army could not follow. The Israelites were finally free. After finding the waters of Marah bitter, Moses prayed to God, who made the water sweet. Later, as the Israelites complained of hunger, God provided manna from the sky, which they joyfully collected and tasted for the first time. God sent quail to the camp to provide food, and the Israelites eagerly caught them while Moses watched with relief and awe. Jethro reunites with Moses, bringing Zipporah and their sons. He praises God and advises Moses to delegate leadership to avoid burnout, which Moses thoughtfully considers. The Israelites were camped at Mount Sinai, and as Moses ascended the stormy peak, thunder and lightning struck. At the top of the mountain, Moses knelt in awe, and God inscribed the 10 Commandments on stone tablets in the light of thunder and lightning. These laws would guide his people on how to live in a way of kindness and justice. Moses descends the mountain with the stone tablets, sees the Israelites worshipping the golden calf, and angrily shatters the tablets. The Israelites freeze in fear, realizing their disobedience. Moses orders the punishment of the rebels, and the Israelites, humbled, await his next move. After God inscribes new stone tablets, the people follow Moses' instructions to build the tabernacle, symbolizing God's renewed presence among them. The tabernacle is consecrated in a solemn ceremony as God's presence fills it, confirming his presence with the Israelites. The community watches in reverence, filled with a sense of hope. Moses, now elderly, formally passes leadership to Joshua before the Israelites, offering words of encouragement. He blesses the tribes of Israel one last time, filled with passion and wisdom. Alone, Moses climbs Mount Nebo, gazing at the promised land with bittersweet contentment. As he peacefully passes, the scene ends in tranquil serenity, symbolizing the completion of his journey and God's fulfilled promise. From a baby in a basket to a leader of a nation, Moses' journey was one of faith and courage. His story reminds us that even when the path is difficult, we must trust in what is right and in the strength of our purpose.